Greetings and salutations, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. And I told you I was going to do this, so I'm doing it. In this corner, Basil Hayden's blended whiskey, bourbon specifically. And I will be comparing this, just a wee dram of this, especially since I only have a little left, with Old Granddad. Now, if you remember the story, old Basil Hayden Sr. Came up with the formulation for his famous whiskey. And so, to this day, they make it to that recipe. They are owned by Suntory Beam. They were bought by Jim Beam, and then Suntory and Jim Beam merged, so they are owned by Suntory Beam. But they make it to the same specifications as before. Old Granddad was what grandson of Basil Hayden named it, or referred to him. And when he went off on his own, he basically took the family recipe and created Old Granddad. And it is supposedly the same stuff. Virtually indistinguishable from the Basil Hayden, but at a lower price point. So I needed to try it. I already removed the cork. Wow. Distracted by talking. Not the first time that's happened. Now, I will say this is kind of an unfair comparison tonight, because, put them on the right side here. So the Basil Hayden is a straight Basil Hayden. It's no special reserve, nothing like that. It is 40% alcohol, and no age statement on here. Not like I can actually read anything with my vision anymore. Yeah, no age statement or anything. So it is just a plain old Kentucky bourbon, 80 proof, aged at least 2 years in newly charred American oak. As a bourbon, it is at least 51% corn. And I think they don't actually describe it as a high rye, but I want to say it is. It doesn't say. I want to say there is a high rye content in it, meaning more than about 10%. Rye in the mash bill. Now, the reason why I say it's not a fair comparison is the only stuff that I was able to find from Old Granddad in the store is the bottled in bond, which makes this a little bit different from the Basil Hayden, in that bottled in bond is a statement that places more restrictions on the bourbon. Has to be single distillery, single distiller, single year. Now, a lot of times what blended whiskeys will do is they will take the new whiskey that they make, taste it, and figure out, okay, this is a little bit sweeter than we normally have, or it's, it has certain characteristics that we like or don't like or whatever, and will alter the blend. They'll take a little bit of last year's and mix them in certain proportions, and maybe even the year before, in order to make a blended whiskey. Even though it's all stuff that distillery has produced, but they're blending different years in order to create a more consistent flavor, usually, or sometimes come up with a brand new set of characteristics, and they might have a special reserve that year. So when you're talking about bottled in bond, it's all whiskey that's produced by a single distillery in a one given year, a single year. So you can't take other years and blend them in. Must be in the barrel for at least 4 years. Typically, bourbon by law has to be in the barrel for 2. So this bottle and bond has to be in there for 4 years, and it's bottled at 100 proof or 50% alcohol rather than 80 proof or 40% alcohol. So that being said, that's why this is not exactly an apples to apples comparison, because this is bottled and bond and the Basil Hayden is not. So generally speaking, because it's spent more time in the barrel, you're going to get more barrel notes, more vanilla, more oakiness. And because it's at a higher alcohol content, it's going to have a sharper bite to it because there's more alcohol. That's what gives it that bite, is the alcohol. What that can also mean is the extra alcohol can mean that the actual flavors and aromas that you get, the strong ones tend to get amplified, and the weaker ones or the more subtle ones tend to get overpowered by the stronger ones. So we'll see. Supposedly, these should both have, if they're both made in basically the same way, they should have at least a similar flavor profile. The Old Granddad, because it is bottled in bond, might be a little stronger, and might have some of the stronger flavors and aromas will have an advantage, or be amplified, and I might not be able to pick up some of the more subtle ones that may be in the Basil Haydens. But I'm going to try and see if they are really that similar. Oh, as always, the standard disclaimers. This is all just my opinion. So take that with a grain of salt. I am not an expert. I'm filming this as I learn, and I am at the bottom of the learning curve right now. I'm also being attacked by a cat. Yes, I know. So I'm a little distracted, and my sense of taste was shot off in the war, and my sense of smell is not all that great either. So what I get off of this is almost certainly not what you're going to get out of it. But here we go. First, the Basil Hayden. As I said, just a wee dram because I'm down to the bottom of this bottle. Okay. Definitely, a standard level of alcohol. It's not really sharp on the nose. Sweet, kind of caramely. With just a hint of cat hair. Thanks. Go away. Almost a caramel apple, but almost forgot to open my mouth. Caramel, vanilla. Yeah, just a very hint of green apple, and I don't know if it was there or not. Or if I just need to take out the compost bin. I don't know. But a nice light nose. Little pepper. Oaky, but not overpowering. This is a very, very nice bourbon. And I can see why this was one of the first ones that was actually recommended to us. It's a very, very approachable bourbon. Not a whole lot of really challenging notes. I'll be right back. And I'm back. I forgot to bring my water bottle here. It's important to stay hydrated. And also have some water to rinse your mouth in between tastings. Now, Old Granddad. Once again, as a reminder, this is bottled in bond, so more alcohol, longer in the barrel, going to be a little bit different from the Basil Hayden. I'm going to try and see if I can discount those in comparing these two and see if they are indeed the same. Definitely more lush on the nose. That extra alcohol is actually carrying more flavors or more aromas. I get a little cherry, when I inhale through both nose and mouth and get that retronasal sinus action going, I'm able to detect more baking spices. So this does seem to be a little different. And it may be that the baking spice in the Basil Hayden's is more muted or more subtle for various reasons. But I'm definitely picking it up here. And yeah, that little bit of sweet vanilla. Yeah, sharper spike of the alcohol on the tongue. There is a certain... I don't get the pepperiness that I did before, which is interesting because I would think that that would be sort of accentuated by that alcohol spike, but it's interesting. It's not as sweet on the palate. And I don't know. Yeah, okay, I'm getting oakiness now. Yeah. And it's the alcohol that's still giving the sharpness, but there's that little bit of bitterness at the end. And yeah, actually, the Old Granddad does mention that it is a high rye mash bill. I'm sure they don't actually say. Yeah, they don't actually say what percentage is rye, but I'm pretty sure that they're comparable. They're very similar, but I can't tell if the predominant flavors are just being brought to the forefront because this is bottled in bond, or if it is honest to goodness different from the Basil Hayden, and I'm just not figuring that out. I don't know. But the bottled in bond, which because they bottled it, they had to leave it in the barrel for twice as long, and they can't water it down to 80%. They actually have to bottle it at 100 or 80 proof rather, and have to bottle it at 100 proof. This is actually more expensive than their standard 2-year-old blended whiskey. But it's still, even the bottled and bond one is still cheaper than the Basil Hayden. I think I paid like 40. I want to say I paid 40 for the Basil Hayden. Might have been more. I don't remember. No, I think it was 40. The bottled and bond was on sale at I think it was $24. And I'm pretty sure I remember seeing when I looked it up online that the standard Old Granddad was I think it was $18 for a 750 milliliter bottle, and it was only 20 for like a 1 liter jug. I think it actually comes in a plastic jug. And I think it was only 20 or $21. So it's less expensive than the Basil Hayden for a similar experience. I can say that with certainty. In some ways, and again, I don't know if it's because it's bottled and bond. In some ways, I'm kind of enjoying the Old Granddad better. Yes and no. The nose is more present. There's definitely more enjoyable aromas, but because it's higher in alcohol, it's sharper. It's more aggressive. I'm not there yet. Yeah, and it kind of it sticks with you. It's an aggressive alcohol spike that sort of lingers as this sort of biting, kind of almost bitter, acidic aftertaste that you just don't get with the Basil Hayden. Got a couple drops left of the Basil Hayden. It's present. It's present in the Basil Hayden too. It's just the that sort of. It's not really bitter. Actually, it's not really bitter. It's sour, which is different. It's the Basil Hayden is definitely less aggressive. The flavors are more subtle, and it doesn't feel like it's attacking my tongue. So there's something to be said for the Basil Hayden is it's not as it's not really grabbing you by the short and curlies. It's just there. It's not challenging, which I'm getting the sense from my research that some whiskey drinkers, in particular like Scotch aficionados, are really looking to be challenged. Where here's a bunch of really awful flavors, and we're challenging you to look past those, to experience the really good stuff. That's just my bias at the moment, because the scotches that we've tried, I should say the peated scotches that we've tried, the really smoky ones, are just not my cup of tea. And there are some people who are like, oh yes, you must. All of this other stuff is just soda pop. You must drink whiskeys that have something negative built in that you have to fight past in order to get to the really pleasant flavors. Like, I don't know that I really need that in my life. So I like a little something other than water or soda pop, or fruity drinks or anything like that, to be able to sip, to be able to drink and appreciate and enjoy on its face without having to fight for it or be challenged. Occasionally, sure, I want to try something, especially trying something new, something that maybe I won't like, but I haven't had before. Of course, I want to try that. I mean, it's just like the food. It's the whole reason for this channel, is because I want to see, is it as horrible as I think it is? I want to be proven wrong. And if it is there anything that I can do about it? So that's why I would recommend that you stay tuned for my next whiskey experiment. I'm going to be trying some of the component flavors of a bourbon in particular, and seeing the corn whiskey that goes into it. What does that bring to the party? Rye whiskey, what does that bring to it? How does that contribute? And if I were to actually just combine those two, can I create bourbon? We'll find out in the next video. But let me know what you think. My comparison of Basil Hayden and Old Granddad. Am I off base? Or do I have any whiskey drinkers out there who can give me their opinion? I would welcome it. Until next time, thank you for watching. I'm Mike Uyak, and this is Recipe Redemption. I'll get back to some cooking videos eventually. No promises on exactly when, but I have a couple of ideas that are sort of percolating at the moment, but I have to collect some ingredients. So until next time, thanks for watching. I'll see you later.